in the last few days, well, certainly yesterday, I was thinking about this whole idea of mindfulness and some of the work that a psychologist I really love and follow, and actually I'm taught by Tara Brach, explains about this real human nature to exit the present moment. And that often comes in when something really, really good's happening and we want to keep a hold of it. And if something's not so great, we want to push it away. And it's this grasping and aversion which often causes us to lose that sense of the present moment. So I was doing this yesterday because I was thinking about these sessions. I was thinking about this whole festival and what a pleasure it's been to turn up and deliver and see you guys and share this half hour. And I was like, oh, what am I going to do next week? I really want this to happen next week. So it's really, really, really lovely to be back, and a nice reflection to start with. I know that I've introduced myself, but I will just refresh in case anyone wasn't here over the last couple of days. I'm Hannah, and I am the service lead for Nudge Minds. Nudge Minds being our therapeutic provision of supporting young people with the absolute mission to eradicate unnecessary emotional pain in young people, one child at a time. And I came into this after years of working with a range of patients in clinical sports therapy, from pro athletes on World Series events to chronic pain, trauma, injury, serious health conditions, through to the palliative process and supporting this. And what was going on was that every intervention that I worked with had this similarity of we're actually processing the stories that are limiting or holding us back, whether it's for performance, recovery, or for healing. We're processing this on a psychological level and on a physical level. And I delved into studies of mindfulness psychology, into personal neurobiology. But what was really apparent was that there was a root of all of these stories, and it went back. And it was often due to early years trauma or experience, life experience, and what had gone on. So the pathway to recovery, performance, and healing was the same, and peace was the same. So at some point, I really knew that this intervention had to happen sooner. And I had crossed paths with Diego, which was so lovely, and knew of the Minds model, and I knew of Nudge Education. And I just picked up the phone and really put that forward. This intervention has to happen sooner. And what I was interested in is this biopsychosocial model of support, caring for the biology, the psychology, the social environment of young people and ourselves, so that it didn't come to that place later on in life where there was the pain, the trauma, and the limitations, or we could limit those as much as possible. So then we came to the insight sessions with Ludo here, and we wanted to deliver something that was really supportive to our professionals and everybody that's working in this real caring and supportive environment. And today we're going to follow on. We've been working with this the last few days, and this is super cool that we get the chance to really practice mindfulness, breathing techniques, and movement. And we'll have a little discussion, Diego and I, who's here, which is lovely, lovely to see you, Diego. And we'll talk about what it means to work as a high-performing individual, what it means to perform, how we can recognize stress. And also we're going to look at relationships and how secure, safe relationships can help us perform as individuals, but also our young people, which is very much the ethos behind Minds and Education. So lovely. Welcome, Diego. Good to see you.
It's my spot now, is it? Okay. Well, thank you for having me back again. Thanks for filling in on Tuesday. Anyway, I just wanted to highlight something. This isn't for the weak, by the way. This is for the brave. And this isn't for the for the struggling. This is really for those who are, strong, because it's really not, it's not an easy thing. And this isn't some kind of spiritual thing. It's like Hannah said, this is about, because I'm going to be really controversial here, Ludo, and say the entirety of the tutoring world will get it completely wrong when it comes down to the long-term objectives of what we do. If we're only looking at a child from an academic perspective, even though we flirt occasionally with getting their voice here or looking at the assessment there, what we are trying to do, and ferociously and passionately, is to say to the sector, to the UK, and potentially the world, that for those who are really struggling to catch up, those who are not even at the start line, and actually anyone, we need to be looking, like Hannah said, this model where that includes, and it's not for the clever ones necessarily. Anybody can do this. It looks at the neurology of a child, the psychology of the child, as well as the sociology of a child, that is founded upon really, robust human relationship. And until we serve that child as the absolute God, and avoid serving like profits and growth and personal desire. Some people mix personal desire with purpose, by the way. It's two different things. Purpose is all encompassing and connected. Desire is just something that you wish for. It would be nice to have. Unless we do that, really, we're just going to be coming back around to the same sort of issues. But I think there is a way, there is potentially a world we could imagine where nobody's left behind, and that's why we're here. Doing a job like that is really tough. So it includes a whole lot of stress and a whole lot of a need to perform. And hopefully we'll be touching a little bit on that. And I hope you do the breath thing. It doesn't matter if you look silly on the screen. It doesn't matter if your screen is off, if you close your eyes, if you're open your eyes. Just access that inner place of centrality amongst your day. And it's really bloody good. I'll tell you that. I can't get enough of it sometimes. So over to you, Hannah.
Thanks, Diego. Yeah, I think another reason really behind this as well, to support us as professionals, is that we are often we're striving for young people. We really are striving for young people. And there's often stories and blocks with our young people that a professional relationship can really soothe and can really empower. And it takes so much energy, and it takes this real attunement and resonance and often empathy to be there and to show up and be resilient. And in taking care with this in mind is something I've always considered to be so important, because we can find ourselves, I'm sure, it might resonate, it might not. I know it's certainly been the case for me and a lot of the people we work with at Nudge Minds, is that we can face burnout, we can face fatigue, we can really want for these young people so much and be exposed to the difficulties of their environment, that it really hits a heart, and we can get really drawn into the stories. I don't think it's too dissimilar to the therapeutic relationship in many ways. I think that once there's the space and the trust and the safety, and we're working towards a goal together, that there can be the processing of real difficulties that can bring about, real self-awareness with that young person. So taking care as professionals, as support, as people of support, is really important. There's something which is called a secondary trauma or vicarious trauma. Dr. Paul Conti writes about this, and I'll drop this in the chat. And this is about when we're facing a situation with a young person that we really want to support, and may have a history or difficulties that might touch on our own experiences as human beings and our own stories. And we can sometimes, when we're not aware, we can get affected by this. It can cause us to go home and really think about, why is that moment with that young person, or why is that difficulty really sticking with me? So this is something really worth exploring. And this comes in again where I really love the idea of being mindfully aware of those moments There's moments that we experience in our body, in our psyche, and intervening with the techniques that we're going to bring forward again today, to settle what might be triggered by our nervous response, or our vagus nerve response, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But back to you, Diego. I wonder if you've had any personal experience. I know actually we share a lot of personal experience.
The thing about co-participating in traumatic experiences with people is it's not a no-brainer. So what would happen if I if I presented to you, I'm not even going to say the word, because if I say the word, you will. But if I've shown you that I'm kind of slightly sleepy, you would trigger something on you that would make you yawn like me. And just that word yawn will start giving you the desire to this. Of course, we're all connected in this sort of give and take of life. Oh yeah, I mean, from parental difficulties and watching, who really close friends these days, I'm pretty sure they don't mind me mentioning, they used to kind of eat each other alive, my parents, and that wasn't really thing nice to watch, through to experiences some accidental forms of child abuse, and then later in life finding a real stable, steady source of security, a relationship kind of disappear suddenly, and then being hit by a car and spending 3 months in hospital. I'll tell you what, stress and trauma have been there every day. The other thing, there's some little ones as well that I have to experience on a day-to-day basis that tries to drag me away from that place, which is this centrality that everything's okay and we're purposeful and we can interact with people, even in difficult situations, without having to lose it. Things like running an organization like Nudge Education that has carries an enormous amount of other people's difficulties and traumas, and being at the head of that is tough enough. I mean, from a sport point of view, God, that is the good bit of stress that I like. It's when the body says no, but then the mind says go, and then you hold on to that wall, and because if you fall from that height, there's only one place, well, two places you can go. It's either the cemetery or A&E. Often more likely to be A&E, but it could be sent to cemetery if there's no place to get to A&E quick enough. So yeah, lots of it. I think I remember being depressed and anxious. I remember suffering from that, medicated. And one of the ways that they measured whether I needed some pharmacological intervention is the word performance. If I could perform daily tasks. So performance is happening all the time, but the performance of daily tasks was so stressful that was inhibiting some certain parts of my brain to function optimally or naturally by creating some of the hormones that will get us to literally exist well, live well. So yeah, lots of it, Anna, and the list could go on.
Yeah, I hear you, Diego. I hear you on this, and it's lovely to hear the very real experiences. And I think, again, just bringing back to this idea of self-care and self-care as professionals, and understanding of that actually what we're facing, and also our young people are facing, is when there are stories, this experience of physiological stress can be amplified. This experience of setting off the sympathetic nervous state of the flood of cortisol in the body can be amplified due to the stories that we have, and therefore, and also when we're working with young people and their stories in young people. So this is the point to be really aware of, to know that we can take care, take a pause, really step back and come back into our own bodies and our own experience. And the more I feel that, the more we notice this, the more we can access the present moment. And as mindfulness teachers talk about this all of the time as being the first foundation of mindfulness, when we're aware of our own inner experience. When we're aware of this and we throw in compassion, because there has to be two there has to be the compassion. Tara Brach also gives this metaphor of the two wings of a bird, and one wing being this really clear seeing of what a difficulty or what a stress is, and the other being this ability to throw in that compassion and that ability to see with a really careful, fine-tuned attention, and give ourselves the care that we need in that moment. Not easy. I know this is not easy because I've battled with it, and I've battled with my own traumatized brain, and I've battled with taking support for that, and also really learning how hard it is to come back in, but gentle. We can do this really, really gently. And I really love this idea of, as professionals, we really take care. And again, Bessel van der Kolk writes about this and says that neuroscience actually shows us that the only way we can change the way we feel is by knowing our inner experience and befriending what is going on inside of us. So we talk so much about coming back to the body because we're coming back to the present moment. And I was teaching it within the height of the pandemic. Actually, there was a lockdown, and it was young people aged 3 to 5, and it was super cool. And we needed to have this mindfulness and movement session because a lot of the young people I'd worked with had gone completely offline, ironically, by going online and not being aware of their own bodies, and there wasn't as much movement. There was more isolation. We know the story. And there was a heightened fear and stress. So we were bringing this attention in, and they loved the part of the session when it came to meditation, and they're 3 to 5. So we were very imaginative, and we talked about bringing attention to our own bodies. And we did this with a body scan. And we pictured our own butterflies and whatever form or color this would take, and imagined it landing on different parts of the body. The toes, the tummy, the hands, the heart, the top of the head, as you can imagine. So we wanted to bring it back. And it was so lovely because they loved getting wrapped up in their blankets and lying there and soothing and taking the deep breaths and imagining. And at the end of the session, I said, I wanted to reflect on it a little bit. And I said, I wonder how it felt. I wonder how it felt when this butterfly landed on the top of your head. And there's this little boy in the class, age 5, and he just came up to the screen, widest smile, biggest eyes, and he said it felt like I'd come alive. It felt like I'd come alive, and I was just it completely smashed my heart open. I was chuckling because I was like, so wise. I wasn't expecting you to say that. I was expecting you to say maybe that was tickly but it was such wisdom in it, because in mindfulness practice, we're talking about this, coming back to the body is the way, and Thich Nhat Hanh explains it, is we can only be alive when we come back to our bodies. So lovely, lovely experience, and definitely an experience of wakefulness for me. And maybe if we reflect a little bit, possibly on any moment where we felt most alive, it's likely that we've experienced this in our own bodies. It might be a witnessing of a birth, a death, a shock, a surprise, a fear-based moment, absolute connection with a loved one. Whatever this may be, we're experiencing it really on a physical level as well. So I'd love to bring us into a bit of a practice of mindfulness and meditation today. How are you feeling, Diego?
Yeah, good. I just really have to, for those who watch this later or those who are potentially listening there, we don't have to look too far to understand the consequences of the toxic or toxicity, is that the word, of things at the moment. From the behaviors of collective behaviors that are damaging our environment, all the way through to the toxic working cultures in some places, prioritizing things that don't really exist if we didn't give those things value, like profits and money over people. The number of children and young people attempting suicide on a day-to-day basis, the number of young people not attending school for 50% or more of the time. It really is screwed up. And I think the only place we can begin to work from when things are really heavy, when things are burning, when the fire it's stoked, is from this place of centrality, understanding where your position is. So I just want to kind of unmythify that this is something for, for those who, like me, experience enormous amounts of difficulties growing up. It's a bit of a miracle that I'm still here and doing well. Miracle of love, mostly. But yeah, just really, really encourage you to engage with it. And if you want to find out what the big, sadly, the big heads of governments and so on and other people are doing to make sure that they survive within that fire that they're creating sometimes themselves, it is exactly that practice. So I hope you enjoy this over the next 10 minutes. So let's go, Hannah.
Ah, lovely, lovely, lovely. So we will just give ourselves a few tips on this. I think really is to take the pressure off, completely take the pressure off, because we've practiced for 3 days now, and it might be that day 3 everything feels much easier. It might be that we're bringing into the room today a state that is a little bit stressed, or we're bored or distracted or anything. Take the pressure off completely, and let's just see what happens. And remembering that with mindfulness practice, it's very active in the sense of, we talked about in the last few days, we can train the prefrontal cortex in our brain. We can train ourselves to come back into parasympathetic nervous state. We can soothe through the vagus nerve and this system. And this is what we're doing. But really take care, because it's our conditioning to exit. So the moments that are really meaningful, important in this practice are the moments when we notice that we are offline or distracted and we come back. That's what's important. So take that pressure off now, see what happens. Let's just see what happens and go for it and drop into this little practice today. If you are comfy, wherever you are, guys, I'm going to encourage you to move a little bit, and that might involve shaking the shoulders. It might involve shaking the hands. You don't have to do this, but if you can, that's great. It might involve squeezing the hands and really pushing the hands out. It's love to get young people to do this. They go crazy for it as fast as you can. Nice, nice, nice. You might want to bring the hands up and then just slowly bring them down. Just see how slowly you can bring them down, actually. See how that little bit of focus and that just gently coming back into our own bodies now. So we're going to welcome all of the sensations and experience, whatever they are now: distractedness, calm, anxiety, fear, numbness, sensitivity. And as we do, we're just going to place the hands on the low abdomen. So you can find the belly, just below your belly button, you can find that area here. And it's useful, this, because when we inhale now, we're going to practice this inflation or expansion of the abdomen. We're going to expand that low abdomen, and then we're going to exhale and let it go. So as we inhale, and we're going to do this through the nose ideally, we're letting the abdomen expand. And as we exhale, either through the nose or the mouth, we're letting it fall back to the place that we started from. So we inhale and expand, and exhale and letting go. Sometimes it feels strange. Don't worry if it does. Sometimes this is not feeling normal or natural. That's okay. But if we can now bring this idea of expansion to the abdomen and then the chest, and then almost right up to the top of the head, and exhale and letting go. It's a bit strange, this idea of moving the breath from the abdomen, the chest, the top of the head, and then we're letting go. So as we continue with this, let's see if we can extend our exhale and recognize this breath, moment to moment, is a place to come back to. when there's difficulty, when there's distraction, sensitivity, understanding of numbness, a place to come back to. We move just gently into a small meditation. It might be useful for the eyes to stay closed. If it's not comfortable, you can open your eyes, of course, and we're going to let this awareness of the breath be our home base and our anchor, the place of self-care and a place to come back to. With a gentle and interested attention. How does this sensation of the breath feel? This movement of the breath. And I wonder where we most easily detect it. Can we notice the movement here? Maybe we notice the sound of our own breath. Maybe we notice the sensation of the air, the cool air as it enters the nostrils and the warmth as it leaves. We're staying with this place that most easily detects the breath. Noticing distractions and any moments our minds have wandered away from this home base. This anchor, and noticing them and knowing it's okay to be distracted. Bring this gentle compassion to noticing distractions and coming back home. And each of those times that we notice our minds have wandered is a moment of mindfulness. Gently bringing our attention back to the inflow and the outflow of the breath. In this practice, we are learning to be centered, steady and calm with the sensations, all of the sensations of our lived experience. Wisely aware of the change and this change in life. Resting now in a natural breathing rhythm. With this breath moment to moment. And as we are here now, maybe we would like to take another 5 or 3 deep breaths. As we gently coming up from this deep nurturing of body and mind. It might be useful when we have taken these deep breaths to begin by starting to move the head and the neck, rolling the shoulders and bring ourselves just back into the room. Maybe noticing the palms of our hands and how they feel. Bringing the hands on the head, the back of the neck, if it feels comfortable, anywhere that might feel soothing. Taking a look around the room, noticing our environment, and even just giving the hands and the shoulders a bit of a shake, gently. There we are. Well done, everybody. So lovely. Take your time.
Thank you.
So nice to see you all and practice and share this with you today. We will drop again. We dropped yesterday, Ludo, if it's useful to do it again. The resources in the chat, or maybe we have them. We'll do that. Some of the things that we've chatted about today. How are you feeling, Diego?
I could have done that for quite a long time.
Oh, it would be nice, wouldn't it?
What I find interesting, though, I'm not sure what you feel, Ludo, but is that I just begin to notice how where my mind goes, and it goes so funny places. And it go, but instead of judging that, I just go, "Oh, that's funny." Then I come back to the breath, and it's just like it's it's just a treat. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you so much again.
And you only reach that point, don't you, when I find when someone just like you, Hannah, is kind of telling me to do that, is walking me through that. I find that I'm not able myself to do that, and that's something I think I've got to learn, is just to sit there and say, like, imagine Hannah was here talking to you.
I just listened to that. The recording again, Lee.
I might honestly just listen to that recording.
It's so good. Brilliant. I better go because I have to prep for some stuff soon.